Hi, I'm Andrea Ray, and we're here with Rudee Ann. Very nice of you to be here today with us. Thank you so much. Now we're here to talk about your mother, Margaret Rudd. And as I understand it, maybe she was one of the first members of AQS. Can you tell us about that?
I would love to. She was the first member of the AQS, yes. Mother was creating some quilted pillows to serve as the cover for a book that the AQS published, Quilting Designs by Lorraine Neff. And she was at the headquarters with the pillows, talking with Meredith and showing her what was going on and making sure that things were the way they wanted them to be. And she sort of overheard the Schraders talking about forming the AQS. And Mother's ears perked up, I guess, and she said, well, I want to be the first member.
Amazing.
Yes, and I'm not sure they had even membership forms made out at that time, or perhaps they hadn't totally finalized what membership was going to involve. But they took Mother's check, and Mother became the first member of the AQS, and she was so proud of that, and she was so thrilled with the way the AQS has developed.
Well, that is wonderful. So tell us a little bit more. Now, I also understand that she does some quilting. She did some quilting, correct?
Yes, she was a quilter. I knew her as a quilter after she retired in '83, but she grew up during the Depression quilting. In fact, I'm told that she pieced quilt tops for wealthier relatives and for people that knew there were people in the community that pieced the quilt tops. And in fact, I know Mother had told me that my grandfather would say he was so proud of Margaret because she was piecing quilt tops on the machine. And I think that probably was a big deal during those days for her to do that. But then when I came along, she was too busy working in school administration in Trigg County, and then also helping my daddy at the Cadiz Cleaners in Cadiz, Kentucky. So I didn't know her as a quilter until she retired in '83. And then she really got involved full force.
Now, did you also get involved in quilting? Was you a part of that too?
I did. It's interesting though. I always enjoyed things with fabrics and sewing. I made a lot of my clothes when I was in high school, but it wasn't until I moved to southern Indiana that my awareness of quilts was developed, because in southern Indiana there are a lot of summertime church picnics, and those church picnics usually have quilt raffles. And that's when I became so excited about it.
Now, there's kind of a funny story with your mom and quilt raffles, correct?
Oh, yes. There's quite a story with Mother and quilt raffles, because when Mother retired in '83, she joined the Trigg County Quilters Guild. And wouldn't you know, the very first meeting that she went to, they were handing out envelopes with the tickets for the raffles of the quilt that they had just made. And my daddy was a Baptist deacon, and he wasn't real sure whether he wanted Mother selling quilt raffle tickets. So to solve the problem, Mother just bought all of them herself and wrote my name on them. And guess who won the quilt that year? I won the quilt that year.
Absolutely.
So that was great. And then I think Daddy sort of maybe decided it was okay for Mother to sell quilt raffle tickets.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this quilt we're standing in front of.
This quilt was designed by one of my students named Ross Tucker, who happens to be a pharmacist right now. And it was created for a project that I developed with the Indiana Arts Commission and the National Endowment for the Arts. It was called Capitalizing Designs. And the whole thing was Mother's idea that I should publish a book of my students' designs. And I put this off for a number of years, and then finally I thought, maybe this is a good idea, because my students do have some outstanding work. So it's a fairly long story, but nevertheless, it did develop into a project that was funded by those two organizations. We ended up with 16 major works of art that were created for the project, and we now have a significant endowment, around $60,000, with the Harrison County Community Foundation in Indiana. Now, since this was Mother's inspiration and she had gotten me started on the idea, she of course helped with a project too. And this is the quilt that she created for the Capitalizing Designs quilt project. The quilts, in fact, all the projects were sold at black tie auction. They had all been appraised, and this particular quilt was bought by the Wiseman family in Corydon, Indiana. And after a number of years, I contacted them and asked them if they would consider donating it to the museum, and they were so pleased to have the opportunity to do that. So this is how this particular quilt, which Ross calls Sophistication, was donated to the museum.
Well, that is wonderful. Thank thank you so much for sharing this story with us. But before we close, is there anything else you might want to share about Mom, or any other way that maybe she inspired you?
She was just an incredible lady of highest integrity. That's what I treasure so much, is a memory of a lady with high integrity. Very, very talented, very inspiring. And I'll share something kind of funny with you, I think. In her later years, she became really interested in origami boxes. And she just thought it was the most wonderful thing. She would spend hours creating origami boxes. Now, she was still working on this, but Mother had incredible energy all the way through her Parkinsonian years, up to the time that she passed away. But had you gone to her home during those years, she would have made you create an origami box before you left. And you would be surprised of all the people that visited her that left with origami boxes.
Oh, I love that. Now, since your mom was the first member, how long have you been a member?
As soon as memberships were available, and that's interesting too, because my husband has pouted just a little bit, why didn't she make you the second one? And I don't think it occurred to her. She was just so excited to be the first member, yes. But I have been ever since there was an AQS, and very proud and thrilled to see the development of the AQS.
Yes. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to speak with you today.
It was my treat to share information about Mother with you. Thank you.
Thank you.